So, hey Pat, how are you?
Doing great, Noam. How about yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm really happy to be here with you now talking about the winter that just knocked on our doors.
It's a topic that's for sure in the minds of everyone. Um, Doing their interseason maintenance is always important. So
Yes, and I think that you cannot underestimate of what winter can do to your greenhouse, to your crops, to your everything.
absolutely, great topic, and I look forward to talk to everyone on that.
Yes, me too. And again, I'm really happy and appreciate your time being here with us.
Thanks for organizing
Sure.
it. And you got a great team there. It's been pleasant to do the preparation with everyone that's been helping. You've got a great organization there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. People usually don't know, but there are so many people behind the scene that working day and nights in order to make everything happen. So yeah, we definitely need to thank everyone for doing this hard behind the scene job.
Absolutely.
We will go live in a minute, and we are live in LinkedIn and on Instagram and Facebook and any other social media that we can imagine. So I guess that the most interesting question now is how is the weather where you are?
Winter has not started, but we did do a time change, which really changes the whole thing. Your schedule gets definitely affected by that hour you go and you fall back, or you spring forward, and it changes your routine a little bit. Um, it's dark very early now.
Yeah.
5 o'clock last night, I think 5:05. So you don't go through through those issues.
No, and where I am staying at, let's say that the nights are quite cold now, and it means that we are facing with 17 Celsius degrees above zero.
Mhm.
So, you can still wear a nice t-shirt.
Yeah,
I am
here,
not afraid of the snow.
come and visit in February. We'll talk then.
I will freeze during the flight.
I'll be at the airport in shorts. Um,
Yeah. What do you want? It's only minus 20.
it's a beautiful summer's day.
Yes. Right in Toronto. I just uh, spoke with Rob, another colleague of us from Boulder, Colorado, and he mentioned that during last weekend it was a short snowstorm, and the snow gained up to 3 feet tall almost. Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. Let's start exactly like planned, 10 a.m. And everyone that will join us later, we will be very happy to visit, to host him, and to see him with us. We are about to talk about the winter, and just like the known phrase says, winter is coming, and it's coming strong. With me is Mr. Patrick Gelineau, and he will present himself in a minute. I am Noam. I am from GrowDirector company, and we are doing automation system. Patrick is the general manager of DeCloet Greenhouse. They are building and providing everything that you need in order to have a solid greenhouse. let's start. So, as said before, my name is Noam Dekel. I'm the VP product and the head agronomist at GrowDirector. You can see me here in the picture in different locations, but for the last 14 years, almost 15, I think now, I've been working with growers as an agronomist. I was helping them to choose the right crop, the right variety, how to irrigate, how to fertigate, how to control everything. I was pushing them forward to add more electrical devices, more tech solutions in order to help them to achieve maximum yield. Because we all know that one of the major factors now in agriculture worldwide is man labor and time. We just don't have both of those issues. So by adding IoT systems, obviously we will talk about AI soon, but having them only help the grower to achieve a better yield than what he used to have. Right here with me is Patrick, and he will introduce himself now. So, Patrick, please.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining. My name is Patrick Gelineau. I'm from DeCloet Greenhouse Manufacturing. DeCloet Greenhouse Manufacturing has been established in 1986, and we've been providing greenhouse solutions to the North American market ever since. We have a full lineup of greenhouses, from freestandings, some cold frames, all the way through very large gutter connect projects. We produce as well and sell Venlo greenhouses, Venlo roofs. So we have a full spectrum, a full line of greenhouse structures, and along to complement that, we also offer all the ancillary products, the heaters, the grow tables, and so on. So it's a pleasure to be here with you. I've been the general manager at DeCloet for almost 3 years, and absolutely love the company and love all of our clients. And it's been a joy to discover their challenges. That's for sure. Noam, back to you.
Yes, thank you. And I must say that you also have the best pens I've ever saw.
Very
Really,
important for trade shows.
I know it's important.
Yeah. Stop by our table and introduce ourselves. We always have them.
In multiple colors. So let's go right to the neck. And let's talk about heating. Heating, let me read from the slide. Heating can account for up to 80% of greenhouse total energy consumption in winter. That means a lot of energy, means a lot of electricity, and a lot of money. Without the heating, we basically cannot grow most of our crops. Tomatoes, cucumbers, eggplants, they all need a certain amount of degrees in order to thrive. What winter means for greenhouse business? So as I mentioned, the energy costs, heating can be account of 50 to 70% of total operation costs during the winter. Now, it's not this or other costs, it's the both of them. So now we need to pay also for the high energy costs and to pay to all of our employees and to fertilizers and everything. And of course, the production challenges. Yields for some crops can reduce by 30% or even more during winter if we are not choosing the right variety for our business. So, just as an FYI, a sudden of a 10 Fahrenheit temperature drop or few degrees of Celsius can reduce productivity up to 50%. Now that's a lot. And if we will try to calculate the price for energy and our crop loss, I think we all agree that we should have some heating system with us. But winter is not only the cold, not only the temperature, it's also a 20% degrees of light intensity can reduce the yield as well. Now you will tell me, well, duh. Obviously, we know plants must have light to do photosynthetic. But if they don't have the light, they will not make enough photosynthetic. And inadequate ventilation can increase humidity levels. And humidity level is just another word to say fungal disease. 5 profit mistakes: ignoring humidity control, neglecting light operation, overlook substrate water temperature, inconsistent nutrient management. This is important, the nutrient management, and I will talk about it in a second. And forgetting about air circulation. So let's start from the beginning. Humidity, the humidity control. If our humidity is too high, it's just like a nice petri dish for fungal diseases to come and just thrive on our plants. Powdery mildew, downy mildew, other types of mildews will just thrive on our plants and will demolish everything. Neglecting the light optimization, as I just mentioned, the reduction of light might be in light hours or because of the angle of the sun in our platform means less DLI, daylight integral. We will talk about it later. That means that our plants can grow well. Water temperature, if the water are too cold, our roots will go in shock. The nutrient management, again, if we have no ventilation, that means not enough evaporation. That means that we are actually trying to grow our plants in the water. And if the roots are always in water without any draining, that means that our roots cannot suck up all the fertilizers. Just general minimum temperature ranges for common greenhouses crops. So you can see here for tomatoes, cucumbers, lettuce. Now, it's not surprisingly to see that temperature now even is lower than this. That means that I need to choose the right cucumber variety, not just a cucumber. I need to have a winter type variety for that and to know what I'm doing, because otherwise I am going to lose a lot of money. So, what to do, how to start loving the winter and not only this really nice succulent that dancing around. Let's start with build it right and heat it right. The orientation matters.
Yeah.
Maximum solar gain by orienting the greenhouse east-west capture the most sunlight throughout the day. Don't forget that you also need to remember that you need a little bit more space between the rows and between the plants inside the row, because otherwise the sun won't get in and there will be not enough ventilating. Patrick, go on.
Yeah. Then it goes into the glazing choices. Right from the onset, when we're designing the greenhouse, we take those factors in consideration. But essentially, the covering is chosen by the grower. We offer three main types of coverings. We offer polyethylene. A good idea to think about it is single layer polyethylene has an R value of 0.85. When we're able to add a second layer of polyethylene and blow air in between, we insulate the interior from the exterior. a little bit like double pane glass. By doing that, we're able to end up with a PE that doubles, not quite doubles, but goes to about a 125 for the R factor. So just adding that second layer gives you a 15% improvement on your insulation. When it comes to polycarbonate, 8 mil polycarbonate has an R value of 1.6, much better than the other two materials. Gables are typically done with polycarbonate, even on a double polyethylene layered greenhouse, just for that insulation factor and to make it easier as well with the blowers. Then you can go to glass as well on a greenhouse. So your choice of covering ends up changing the insulation of your greenhouse and changing your energy requirement. Another way to change the microclimate inside the greenhouse is to add a thermal screen or a shade system. By doing that, you end up having a trapped portion of air at the top of your greenhouse above the shade system that acts as a buffer for the weather from the outside, and it becomes your insulation for your plants or for your main greenhouse, depending on whether you're in maintenance or on it's still growing cycle. So those are the main issues. And on the thermal screen, what we shoot for normally in southern Ontario or northern US is about a 45 to 55% heat retention, depending on the fabric that's chosen. So we're able to do that with the thermal screen. Next slide, please. Okay, so more on that in terms of locking in the heat, some practical insulation techniques. We've discussed a little bit of insulating the north wall insulation or the gables. We're going to put that as well on the south end just by convenience, but what we're doing is we're increasing the insulation values of the material by choosing the proper materials on the gable. Then you can use thermal blankets as well for the greenhouses. There's insulation on the foundation. A lot of our greenhouses get an upgrade as well with foam board on the base of the walls and on also available on the gables. That increases because the insulated foam wall is a insulant with two exterior membranes. It's the best insulation that we can do. It really changes the heat loss of the greenhouse by selecting those materials. Next slide. The equipment as well makes a big difference in your selection. So on the heating side, you have different avenues possible. By far, the more popular options are the boilers and the unit heaters. They're easier to do. The unit heaters require, and the boilers require piping to disperse the heat throughout the greenhouse, insulating your pipes if you wish. It can reduce your heat loss. They can also affect quite drastically the ability to convey that energy from one end to another. We don't see much in geothermal right now in North America. It's very niche market. That remains to gain popularity. It will as we go along. That's for something that we anticipate, but we are not seeing that as popular right now. Next slide, please.
If I may add,
yes,
that geothermal heating is something that you can see, again, not a lot, but it's something that you can find on north parts of Europe. It's something that goes and you can see it because it moves the heat very well along the greenhouse. Now, just don't forget that if you are doing unit heaters, it's very important to add those pipes, just like you mentioned, to gain a really good heat along the greenhouse.
Okay. Another way to move the heat outside of the heat pipes would be with horizontal airflow fans, or what we call HAFs. The slide says, I believe 20 and 24 inches. We sell mostly from 16 to 24. Um, the big questions with an HAF, if you want a more efficient airflow, you look for a shrouded fan. Yeah, it's more directional. If you're looking for non-directional airflow, a non-shrouded fan is sufficient. But the ability to move the heat then is accentuated by the shroud. It serves a little bit to move all the air on a plane and gives you the ability to have that heat dispersed throughout your greenhouse if you're using enough fans. Heat pipes are also a more directional, and by insulating the pipe, you can direct that heat more to the point that you wish to bring it to. Ventilation, the vents and fans. Okay, so ventilation is also very interesting because what we're doing is we're not really trapping any humidity, but because of the temperatures falling down, the dew point gets accentuated. So it feels like having the same way as in your house when you're heating your using your HVAC, you're heating up air that has low moisture. So we're doing that as we're introducing, but as the temperatures fall, it's easier to get to the dew point. That can create a lot of um, dew on your plastic or on your coverings. And if you're not having enough heat to change that, uh, Noam, you were talking earlier as an agronomist that you're introducing more moisture, you're introducing drips that can cause some plant diseases. So the vents are very important because, like, cracking the vent and able to move and exchange the air can clean that up, especially if you're growing throughout the winter. You're able to exchange a little bit of that air when it's beneficial for you and you're not just losing heat. And then temperature control, the multiple temperatures and humidity across all the greenhouse. Uh, there, there can be wide ranges from along against the wall that is adjacent to the outside versus to the center of a multi-bay greenhouse. We would have a much different temperature if we're not moving that air and able to disperse the heat across the greenhouse. So this here kind of explains a little bit of the patterns of the movement of the air. I think, Noam, that you can take us through how it's beneficial for the plants and that air movement.
Yes, sure. Thank you. So just like Patrick said earlier, so let's say that we have the heater systems, okay? We need to have those half fans to move the warm air in all of our segment, because otherwise it will just create a high humidity and low temperature locations on our benches, and those fungal diseases and bacteria that will eventually sit on our plant will just start moving inside the perimeter eventually. Let me describe a little bit about how GrowDirector provides a comprehensive environment kit. So it's including four temperatures, four temperature units, sensor for temperature and humidity sensors, and they are connecting to one sensor director module. This sensor director module is communicating by Wi-Fi with the dry contact director or a socket. Now, think that I will put my sensors, one here, the other one there, and in other two locations. By having this, I will get a better understanding of the different climate inside my greenhouse. Now, you guys, as a growers, you know that you might see quite different inside the greenhouse. And I'm not talking about a hectare. I'm talking about a small greenhouse. You might see it different between the beginning or the end of the greenhouse. So placing those sensors give me a better understanding. But if I'm only receiving those numbers, it just like gives me a white noise. Because if I can't do anything with it, I prefer not to see it sometimes. But having them connecting to the sensor director, talking with my dry contact, I can set now rules that says that if humidity is higher than X, I would like you to run the fan, for example. And if the temperature is lower than something, run the heating system and the fan. But if I see that CO2 level is low, then do something and only then add the CO2 because I don't want to waste my CO2 levels. So the system will automatically adjust heating, ventilation, and humidity and CO2 and obviously light for a constant and optimal climate control. You will get all this information right to the app. It will always be there for you. And now let's talk about beyond the heat. Let's talk about light. Adapting your greenhouse lights for winter. So, as we talked in the beginning of our webinar, reducing daylight hours. Winter is coming. We have less light hours during the day. That means that our DLI, daylight integral, need to be adjusted. The daylight integral, it's saying how much light my plants receive during the day. Okay? So we must understand that there is a lack of light. Now, it's not only a short of light hours, the spectrum of the light might also shift. So we need to prefer to use LED with an adjustable spectrum to optimize the winter higher proportion of red and the lower proportion of the blue light, for example. Okay, because otherwise we are short of these segments. The light intensity and uniformity, we must ensure even light distribution in our facility. And again, sometimes because of the light different change of the hours, we might see a different light in different locations. So we need to understand it and to control it. Now, light, it's energy. So let's think always about energy efficiency. LED lights, usually it's the best method to work with. So I would highly suggest go for energy efficient fixtures, just like LED, for example. Integrating controllers, just having an LED driver and a lot of lights, it's nice. But I want to be able to control it. Control the time of the light, the DLI. I would like to control the spectrum of the light, add more red, more blue, more green, okay, or anything that I want. Another thing, by the way, that it's not written here, but let me share it with you. You can get a nice rebate, by the way, for going LED. because it means that you are consuming less energy, less electricity, less of a carbon footprint. And that means a rebate. I'm sorry, I'm switching it off because of the music. And for all of I just mentioned, we have the dimmer director for the rescue. By using the dimmer director, I can plug up to 200 different LED drivers, daisy chained, 100 to each. I can control the intensity of the light, the percentage, obviously. I can control the spectrum if the driver allows me to. Obviously, I cannot do something that the light is not providing with. So having them, I can reduce the plant stress. I am improving the photosynthesis because I am providing the plant the exact light spectrum that he needs. Means that increase yield potential and have a better quality. Going with the dimmer director means that I can automate my control. The dimmer director is also communicating with the sensor director that was mentioned the slide before. And if the sensor, the power, or the lux, both of them are changed, but let's talk about PAR because this is more interesting. It's the photosynthetic active radiation. If we are talking about PAR, the dimmer director integrates with the environment control system for seamless automation. If PAR sensor sees that we are short of light, he will lift up the energy to the light system to give us a better light. The energy efficiency, obviously, if I can control my light, that means that I don't really need my light system 24 hours or no matter how much time on a 100%. If I'm getting enough light from the sun, I can run my LED only 50%, for example. Okay, let's talk about another thing, the winter humidity challenges. Humidity is dynamics, okay? The problem is usually, there are some problems and we are about to talk about them. Heating system, dry air leading to low humidity, okay? And it higher risk for plant stress. So the solution is obviously taking the sensor, monitor and manage the humidity levels using a high pressure fogging, for example, or increasing the frequency of fogging cycles, and monitor the VPD, vapor pressure deposit. It's nice to have it. But again, I want to talk now in general. You must always monitor and understand. If you are just monitoring but don't understand, it gives you nothing. So always ask questions and monitor and choose how to work only after understanding the cons and the pros. Condensation control, temperature difference between warm greenhouse air and cold surface areas. The glazing, the walls can lead to conduction, creating breeding ground, actually a petri dish for diseases. So just like Patrick says before with the HEF, um, improving the air circulation, ensure a proper ventilation, a circulation fence near the walls and the roof to move the air, and make sure that you have enough space between the plants and between the rows. If you won't have enough space, that means that the air just sits and again, a petri dish. And sometimes a supplemental humidifications. Having Maintaining optimal humidity levels can be challenging in winter, especially with frequent ventilation. So use a combination of coolers and other humidifiers and dehumidifiers, and go IoT, go and make automation system for your greenhouse. It will make your life much easier. CO2. CO2 is something that we must remember when we're talking about winter, because plants must have CO2, okay? But we have problem with ventilations because I want to evacuate the humidity. But I do want also to keep all the CO2 gas in my perimeter. So we need to start understanding this issue. The problem is reduced ventilation in winter limits the natural CO2 intake. So the solution is consider a CO2 injection system with precise control and monitoring capabilities. Just put a CO2 sensor that will automatically run the valve for the CO2 cylinder if you are missing of CO2. The CO2 distribution, again, ensuring the uniform CO2 distribution inside the parameter. So you might consider having multiple points of CO2 injectors, and the integrating of the CO2 in heating and lighting issues. The balancing, just like I mentioned before, the balancing of the CO2 enrichment and the heating and the ventilation and the light, that's a mess. Try to go with sensors and automation systems to help you with that. And if you're still not sure, always, please, as an agronomist, go and ask your guiding agronomist. Ask them. They are there for you. If you don't know, you can ask me. You can ask Patrick. We are all always available for you guys. Pat.
Yeah, thank you, Noam. So, interestingly, CO2 gets much higher in the atmosphere during the winter months, but it's not something that's easy to get for the plants inside the greenhouse. So, great points that you were making there.
Thank you.
Other things that we want to consider when we design a greenhouse is what we can say build to last, but we like to say DeCloet to start with the plant first. So when we're thinking about the plant, we want to make sure there's adequate height above the canopy. We want to make sure that that gives you a chance to lower humidity inside the greenhouse, and gives you an opportunity to bring in that energy screen we were talking about. But DeCloet does really strong greenhouses. We get rated for snow and wind loads as per the municipalities. It's very important to pick the right structure. Building it on the light side, we've seen many instances of foreign greenhouses in the last couple of years not getting um, uh, the stamps from the municipalities because they were not designed for the adequate snow loads, more European levels. So that has been a surprise to many growers that have selected those structures. DeCloet chooses materials that are durable. We over-engineer. We try to make sure that we provide you with a more comprehensive and stronger structure. All of our greenhouses are galvanized. All of our gutter connects are hot dip galvanized. That provides you with the best protection for humidity and for longevity. We will therefore reduce any rust on any of the components. Our gutters, for example, are structural. They allow to transfer a lot of the loads along the structure, but they're hot dip galvanized 11 gauge. So we're talking a very, very strong gutter. Um, that got a lot to do in the design stage. The roof pitch, picking the right roof pitch will allow your snow to roll off the roof structure, especially with heating the inside. Now, one thing that a lot of greenhouse owners forget is that when the municipalities have reviewed the structure to meet the code that is in the municipalities, they had to review it based on a heated structure. We get some sort of reduction in the snow load requirements because it is supposed to be heated. So a greenhouse, even if you're just in maintenance period for the winter, you must keep it heated in order to meet your stamp or your operating conditions. There's also reinforcements that can be added. There's additional bracing purlins that can be added to the walls in order to have a stronger structure. And there's preventative maintenance. We all understand that uh, it's cheaper to repair things before they break down rather than after they break down. And noticing early decay, noticing early little wear and tear on certain elements can allow you to come back and discuss with your greenhouse provider little fixes or repairs that might be required based on the structure. Next slide. Other things that we can look at removing snow. It's important to keep the perimeter of the greenhouse clear. We always recommend to go on the outside and free up the snow from all the structure. Uh, if you have any hangups of snow on the roof that you're able to reach, knock it down with some long-handled roof rakes or brooms to get that snow off before it has the opportunity to melt. Um, Using snow blowers, like we discussed, to clear the walkways and all the way around the structure is a great idea. It will drastically, it will reduce your humidity definitely in the greenhouse. Install the heated gutters. Uh, there's some people that have chosen to do that. It is something that if you've got really cold temperatures at night that you might want to do in order to prevent freezing, and also there's also the inflatable brackets or other protection for the roof structure that can be done. Next slide.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh yeah. So this is a worst case scenario. Have you seen those around Nome? Have you had the chance to see one of those structures?
Yes, actually, and it's always a mess, and it's always makes me really sad to see a greenhouse collapse and to know that it is all ruined down there.
Yeah. And this is an example where you need to keep heating throughout the winter a little bit, and you need to be above freezing. Um, you've got to melt that snow off your roof. You cannot leave it standing there. You've got to attack it as your current problem. Not that the structure is not strong enough, but that snow gets wet and gets heavier and heavier and logs that water. And then the constant, if you're not heating up your structure, the constant of melting and refreezing and remelting and refreezing, you end up with a very dense layer. And unless you attack it and you try to remove it, it can have some drastic effect on your structure.
Yeah. And water management, always funny topic to talk about. Keeping your water from freezing. Let's be honest, if it's under 0 or 32 Fahrenheit, they will freeze. And if it's freezing, we won't be able to do anything with it. So cold water are not only the problem is not only the freezing, but also cold water slow the nutrient uptake, usually because it's just so much cold to the roots. So just like us, when we are cold, we are shivering and we're trying to hug ourselves or stay low. This is also with plants. We must provide them any way of a warm water to the roots in order to help them maintain these freezing nights. The water temperature managing, there are some problems with it. First of all, insulation. Insulate exposed pipes and irrigation lines. Might be with foam, might be actually even just under the ground. It is always a good idea to use something that Patrick talked about in the beginning of the webinar, boiling system. So you can use this boiling water also to irrigate your plants. Heat trace cables, drain system, and obviously monitoring. Monitoring the irrigation system regularly for leaks and signs of freezing. Now, if we want to be even smarter a little bit, the higher amount of salinity that we have, EC is higher or more fertilized, that will remove the freezing point. We will get another few degrees without the water freezing. Now, if the water is freezing, our pipes might crack. Water temperature managing, this is something that we are doing. Installing a temperature sensors with your irrigation reservoirs to monitor the water temperature in a real time. You can use the GrowDirector, the EC sensor. It always goes together with the water temperature to know what is the water temperature level in your greenhouse. You will know if it's too cold or too warm. The additional tips is using a water storage tank, considering it, consult with irrigation specialists because they know what happens around, and adjust the irrigation timing. Maybe even add another small cycle of irrigation to make sure that water are running and no tap is freezing and got stuck. Protection your crops. This is something that we all know. Everyone is having a bad with it. Pests and diseases. There are so many diseases and insects inside the greenhouse. The spider mite, the aphids, the whiteflies, everything. But the most problematic one is the fungal diseases. Fungal disease, it's very easy to solve, by the way, but it always prefers to um, remove them, okay, to be prepared and do whatever you need, not even face those issues, because if we need to start spray with chemicals or organic solutions, it's just more time and money. So let's understand the risks, okay? The temperature fluctuation, inconsistent temperatures just make the plant go stress. That makes them more vulnerable. If they are more vulnerable, that means that more insects will just go and sit on them, or fungus, or bacteria, or everything. So we need to maintain a stable temperature with a reliable heating system and ventilation. We need to monitor cold spots, okay? Because again, if we just put sensors but we don't understand what we see, it's useless. And use a thermal thing, okay, to identify the cold spots in order to protect yourself from them, obviously. Humidity imbalance, dry air favors for spider mites, but high humidity promotes fungal diseases. So again, monitor, monitor, monitor. Always monitor your situation. Reduced ventilation, segments of air without enough and or proper ventilate just cause us more problems that we need to protect them ourselves from. So let's be smart in advance and not even facing those problems. Make sure that you have enough space between the rows. Maximize your airflow using half fans. Run the half fans if you need. Weak plant defenses. Again, just like said before, if we are talking about uh, plants that they are now in a stress, they are more susceptible to pests and diseases. Always optimize your natural light, CO2, use LED, use whatever need to be used in order to get the better and the stronger plant, because a strong plant is a resistant one. And if we are facing with a problem or an issue or a question that we don't understand, we don't know what to do with it, we can always really scan this barcode and we can all go to our new AI agronomist feature. It's a completely free feature that you can snap a picture, ask the question, and get immediate solution. You can take a picture of an insect or a disease or just a plant with a different color and ask what went wrong or what is this pest, and the AI will immediately gives you the answer how to prevent and how to deal with it right now. That means that you have an agronomist for you with you 24 hours. You don't need to wait to this agronomist to come over. And if you do prefer to wait to the agronomist, you can now get the frame, you can get to understand what he's about to say. And you will always can get a second opinion. Why to try it? Well, it's for free. So as we all know, if it's for free, it's good. Multiple picture recognition. You can take more than one picture. You can voice record yourself. Just ask a question by your language. It is fast and accurate. It is easy to use and it's available 24 hours a day. We build this feature by asking a lot of growers, agronomists, including myself, open sources like the USDA and others. It is well trained with a really good answers. Try it, use it, please. The key takeaways, the essential factors for plant health: temperature and humidity. I think we talked about it. Ventilation and air circulation. Without having this, we will find ourselves struggling with different pests and diseases. Maximizing the natural light and supplement strategy. Water temperature, it's essential, it's crucial, and it's important to understand it. And pest and disease control. This is actually the main issues for any kind of a grower, no matter when, but during winter, even more. Pat?
So when you're selecting your greenhouse at the very beginning of your project, you have some tough decisions to make. What kind of climate are you operating into? What will be the requirements from municipality? What will be the requirements from the state or province you're living in? What's important to note is there's major changes happening to building codes. Ontario in Canada right now is revamping their building code for the new year, and the structures will have to meet a new set of guidelines that are greater than what is in place today. Michigan is now asking for drawings to show all suspended equipment inside of the structure. So it's no longer just the external conditions that are being looked at, but also your equipment and what you will be putting inside of your greenhouse. And those I expect to see more and more developments on that. Um, we're seeing more and more jurisdiction abandoning the farm building code to move more towards a commercial building code. They're taking the welfare of the workers inside the structures as a priority in any public that might come in. So the climate is very important. The whereabouts of your project will also change the requirements. What crop are you building, wishing to grow? Are you going to need, if you're doing vine crops, your requirements for lights will be much different than if you're doing lettuce, for example, or um, you'll have to contemplate additional lighting. You'll have to make sure that you've got the right amount of photons hitting the plant level, and we need to collaborate on that. And then this is the whole way to purchase at this point. It's no longer the selling process of a greenhouse, it's the purchasing process. So as a grower, what are the questions that you have? And it's important that we address those questions in your development. So partnering with experts really help go a long way. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, DeCloet has been helping in designing greenhouse solutions since 1986. We're well versed in, and we can help you whether you're ornamental, whether you're food production or CEA or cannabis grower. We've seen it, we've experimented, we've done it. So it's a great conversation to have. We can present you with many different options. No.
Use technology for optimal control. Automate environment control, precise management, temperature, humidity, CO2, PAL, lax, water temperature, pH, EC, DO. All of these parameters are important for us to understand and to control. After having these informations, we can now data analyze it and track the key metrics, identify the trends, and optimize performance. Sometimes we would like to add a little bit more CO2, but again, just like Patrick said, it really depends on the crop and the variety inside the crop that you are wishing to grow. Always good idea, talk with others, and never afraid to ask questions. Always ask questions. And obviously, GrowDirector integration. Seamlessly control and monitor your greenhouse environment. You will see everything in the app. You can get everything no matter where you are. You can control everything no matter what you're doing in order to make sure that your facility is thriving. This is more in a desert location, but you can see here the HydroDirector kit and a tablet with it. and you can control it. So high performer greenhouse, this is for Pat. The high performer greenhouse is built for durability, efficiency, and optimizing all growing conditions. Really go with the best greenhouse supplier that you can have. You don't have enough money to buy cheap. Now, I'm not saying that it's expensive or not, but always try to go with the one that you know that you can go to if you need any kind of assistance. The intelligent control system, the automation, the data driven, everything, you need to take it and unleash your potential. Maximize yields, minimize the risk, and achieve a year round success by having both good and reliable and strong, solid greenhouse and a nice and easy to use an automation system. You can always, of course, scan the QR code and ask us questions. Let's go for some question and answers. Now, I have seen a question from Jonathan. Yeah, lack of sun, lack of sun here hurts us. Jonathan, I don't know where you are from, but yeah, I know lack of sun, it's a bit of a problem that we have. We cannot solve it. Okay, I can control the weather only inside the greenhouse. I cannot control the weather outside, although sometimes I wish I could. But we can have an additional light system in order to provide my plants everything that he needs.
Yeah. What's important as well to know on that one, Noam, is most jurisdiction right now, especially North America, have a subsidy program for going LED. So I don't know where you are located, Jonathan, but a good uh, point to know is that most likely there is, if you're in North America, there is some sort of subsidy available for a credit to go LEDs. And you'd be surprised as well on terms of when we talked about the shading systems. Some gas companies, um, East Coast Newfoundland, not a problem. You get the credit for, definitely get a credit for LEDs. Gas, you should be able to get if you put a shade. Those are definitely available to you. If you put in a control system, you also have credits that are available to you because you're regulating your temperatures, and doing so will limit your use of gas to only what's required, and you will get money back. So if you don't know how to do that, we can have a conversation. Make sure to reach out after.
Also, another thing that Patrick and DeCloet can assist you with, Jonathan, is East Coast. Yeah, East Coast. Perfect.
East Coast
So
Newfoundland.
another thing, yeah. So another thing that Patrick can assist, and I think that he can talk even better for me, um, using a good roof, glazing roof, it will help with the sun uh, radiation. Now, another question, again from Jonathan, thank you. Recycling the water for conservation, is it possible? Uh, yes, it's always possible. It depends on the method of growing. If you are growing NFT or if you are growing DWC or cocoa, it depends on it, and it depends on the rec system that you have and the monitor system that you have. Um, Again, for all of these options, DeCloet and GrowDirector can assist you with. So if you need a better racking system or monitoring system, obviously come to us. But for your question, yes, it is possible. A lot of growers doing it, and it means that you are reducing the amount of fertilizers and chemicals spending out. Another question from Alexa: root temperatures. How it affects that the root temperature is under what? Under the temperature needed. So again, just like said before, if the temperature in the ground or in the growing medium is lower than what the plant need, it cannot take all the input that he needs. That means that if you are growing lettuce, it will just say that instead of having a head of a lettuce within 4 weeks, it might take you 6. That's huge difference. Okay, it's less 2 cycles around. That's a lot of money. So always make sure that your root system temperature is exactly what your plant needs. A question from Darren about humidity and droplets from the roof. Yes, sometimes we see that because of the high temperature, it just feels like it's rainy inside the greenhouse. For these cases, you can choose a different roof or a different covering. Patrick, I think that covering and roof types, this is something that you can answer better than me to prevent the issue of raining inside the greenhouse from the high humidity.
Well, your temperature is key because you're affecting your dew point inside the greenhouse. So let's start there. I mean, we cannot have a condensation free greenhouse if you're keeping it on the low end of the temperature. So you will always have that transition. Now, which coverings give you the better protection? Well, obviously, the ones with the higher R factors will insulate better and will have less dew because you have less of a temperature gap between the outside and the interior. You have more of a transition zone by going to double layer. Um, the R factor, the best R factor, we're not building a commercial building. We're building a greenhouse. You're going to be between a 1 and a 2 R factor. You're not going to be operating in masonry wall kind of portion. But the proper design, putting insulated panels on the bottom to reduce uh, that cold hitting you, gives you choices and gives you the ability to mitigate. And then you're able to select the best covering. The best covering is the one that you can afford and the one that you make the decision based on your crops and on your working conditions. There's not a blanket answer for that suits everyone. That's why we have greenhouses available for all types of covering.
Thank you, Pat. There is another question here again from Alex. Let me just read it. How can the combination of the DeCloet Greenhouse and GrowDirector can be achieved, and how it will give me a year-round success? So first of all, always go from the bottom, okay, from solid ground. You need to have a good, strong structure. Once having a good, reliable structure that you know that will last for years, you know that you can go and grow in it a all-round cycle. Having GrowDirector inside will assist you to maintain and control of all of those different parameters that we were talking about earlier in this webinar. So you can buy the heating system and the gators and the racking system and the half fans, everything from DeCloet, and then you can combine all of them and connect them to the GrowDirector system to have it automated. I don't see any other questions, but please, everyone, feel free to contact us. You can go to DeCloet LinkedIn. You can go to the DeCloet website and just give them a call. You can obviously talk with me in GrowDirector LinkedIn, in our email info, and contact me directly if you need. So I would like to appreciate your time, everyone, for being with us. I know it's the election day, so go vote. Don't forget about it. It's important, no matter who you're voting to, but do it. And
Is that today? No, didn't hear anything about
yeah,
it.
yeah. Today is the voting day. So it's important to go and do it because it is your right to do it. Do it, please. This is democracy. Thank you, Patrick, for being here with me. I appreciate your time and your effort and your knowledge.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me and making it available to us. And thank you for organizing this event. It was great.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for being with us. That's it for today.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Dude, you rock at these things. You've done them really well.
Thank you very much. But I think that we are still
In the show?
live.
Oh,
Yeah,
well.
maybe.
Hi,
Yeah,
everyone.
we
And
can do
that's
it
how
then.
it went. So I have nothing wrong to say there.
No, it's okay. I think that all we need now is Sasha to shut it off. Okay, just let's leave the page. And again, thank you, everyone. And thanks, Patrick.